Welcome to Unit 3 of Real Shanghai Mathematics Practice Book 2.1. So this is for Year 2 and it's the first book in Year 2. We just covered a very large unit previously, which I'm going to do a quick recap, but this is a mature unit, you'll be pleased to note. So in terms of a recap of what we've gone through so far, which your child will need extra practice with to be good at, and those are multiplications. So these are the multiplications that have been gone through. 10 was the first one, 5, 2, 4, 8. Just reminded that your child should be familiar with the ones times table and the 0 times table, which is straightforward. So 1 times any number is the same number, and 0 times any number is always 0. So just to be familiar with that as well. So I don't need to formally learn it, but just a reminder that that's what it is. So it should be straightforward. So if you say to them, what's 0 times 10? 0. 1 million times 0? 0. 1 times 5 million? 5 million. So, any numbers we can do for. And then the times table again, 10 times table. The way to do these times tables will be going through forward like 10, 20, 30, 40 using the fingers up to 10, and then backwards 100, 90, 80, and so on and so forth. And then the 10 times table is straightforward because it's just adding a 0. So then after that, they should be doing, okay, what's 3 times 10? Well, that's 30. What's 10 times 10? That's 100. We just add a 0. Okay. And then the 5 times table, we move on to next. And again, going through it forward, 5, 10, 15, and so on. And then backwards as well, 50, 45, 40. And you should be able to do it fairly quickly. And then once they're happy with that, then you ask them 5 times 5, and they should say 25 fairly quickly. And once they've mastered that, then you move on to the next one. And the way to do it is by doing repetition. So just a few minutes a day, at least once a day for a few minutes, ideally a few times during the day, but with a gap between them, not just spending ages on it in one go, but a few minutes every now and then with a lot of gap between them, and in between other stuff doing, and make it like a game. So like 5 times 6, 30, and then praise them when they get it wrong. And if they're still struggling with it, it just means they need more time with that. And so then go through that, and then once they're happy with that, then move on to the next times table, which is 2 times table, which is also, remind them, it's the same as doubling, and then 4 times table and the 8 times table. Again, the similar pattern going forward, going backwards, and you need to get to a stage where you say, for example, what's 8 times 9, and they tell you 72 fairly comfortably. And even within the times table, even the 5 times table, say it's 5 times table, but you can say 5 times 2, and they should be able to do it. And you can also do it the other way around, where you say 8 times 5. They should realize that's 5 times 8, and that's 40. And clearly, when they know lots of times table, then they can go whichever way around they are comfortable with. And clearly, they will make some mistakes, but if they're able to make a mistake and correcting themselves, that's ideal. And there will be a lot of repetition, so it doesn't need to be something that's really nailed on. But with practice, they should be very good at it and need to get good at the times table, which is really so far the aim, and the other times tables will be coming too. So it's a good idea to start practicing these as often as you can and to build up their confidence. And also then checking the other ones. And once they've done the 10 times table, 5 times table, you can mix those two together so they can be able to do both of them. And then with the other times table, when they're very good at that, you can mix the times tables up in terms of asking them random multiplications and seeing how they get on with that. So moving on to this topic, it's called statistics, and it's the unit 3, which we're doing, and it's called statistics. And we start off with 2 topics within here, so split up into 2 areas. The first one is called Introduction to Tables, and this is just looking at tables, as you can see in 1A, and writing the numbers down. So the way they are tallying these, and the child just needs to get familiar with them, is the counting is as follows. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the 5th one, they've put a line through there that way, and sometimes the line goes that way. So as you can see, this is a group of 5. Okay, so rather than counting each one, because that's a group of 5, and so on and so forth. And so the fairy tales, the books will be 10, 5, 10, and comic books will be 16, and so on and so forth. And write the letters for B, correct answer in the bracket. So just getting your terms as greatest number and smallest number. So you should be able to tell from looking at the charts which one's the greatest number and the smallest number. And put the letter there from A, B, C, D, and look at the tables in the previous page, think of more questions, and then write those down. That's level B. I'm not really a fan of these kind of English type of questions, thinking of questions. If your child wants to do that, that's fine. If they don't want to do that, it's not a problem. And then moving on to the next part, which is the second part and the last part. As I said, this is a short topic, Unit 3. and it's block diagrams. Block diagrams, which is getting them used to block diagrams. They call them block diagrams here. It's also known as bar charts, we tend to call them as well, which is fine. So the question 1A is again similar to what's been done before. That should be straightforward. And then B, you put this into a block diagram. Okay, so put into block diagram, which is basically putting this information into a chart. And so your y-axis, which is this one here. So this is like, we call this the y-axis. Again, you don't need to really know if it's a y-axis or not, but it's just in case I say it, so you know. And you got the number of pupils here, and then you got the skipping, running, and so on and so forth. And so it's a case of saying, okay, skipping, how many are there? Oh, we've put 10 in that box, so we go from 10 here, and you go across, and that'll be a skipping one done, and the running one done. The only, I guess, a little bit tricky is working out how wide the boxes should be, and there are how many here? There's 5, 10, 15. Okay, looks like about 20. So probably five. Each chart should be around 5 widths. So from here, if you count the squares, there should be around 5 this way around, and the top one should be straightforward. So that's 10, and then the next one, they should be joining each other. The next one, running, is how many? It's a few more, 16. So this will, if that's up to 10 here, and that's 16, then that will carry on going up to the 16 one, and then moving on to the next one, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then you've got questions based upon that. It's question C on page 50. Answer these questions based on the block diagrams above. So how many more pupils did running than did skipping? So then you just look at the difference between them. So it's or you can just do number of pupils of one of them, take away the other, and you can write the number sentence there. So it'll be running then skipping. So running was 16, skipping is 10, so 16 take away 10, and so on and so forth. How many times greater was the number? So when you talk about greater, we're now talking about dividing or multiplying. Okay, so greater means more number, so it's going to be timesing because it's a larger number. So you work out jumping then throwing. So jumping is 6 and throwing is 2. So how many times more is jumping than throwing? So well, it's going to be 6 divided by 2, and that will give you 3. Okay, so 6 divided by 2, it gives you 3. So that's how to do it. How many times more? How many times more? So it's what number 2 times what number will give you 6. That's what it refers to here. And how many people participate in the sports day altogether? And that'll just be a calculation of adding them together. And then moving on to the last bit, which is page, there's 2 more pages, 51 and 52. 2A, Alex bought 4 kinds of snacks for a class. What snack did he buy most of? 3 bags of croissants and 5 bags, so on and so forth. So most means total number, the most, so you need to just work those out first. So croissants, there are 4 in there, so 4 times 3, and the bread rolls is 3 times 5, and the other one is what, 9 times 2, and the other one 8 times 2, and then you work out the numbers, and the greatest number of snacks was, so whichever is the greatest number in terms of the total, that will be the greatest number of stacks, and the other one will be smaller number of stacks. And then B, you put that into the 8 diagram, so you can put those totals into the numbers for the snacks, next to the snacks, the numbers, and then you do bar diagrams like you did previously. And here we've got how many going across: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and there are 4. So each one should be 3 in width. Is that right? Yeah, each one should be 3 in width, and then take it up to the number of snacks. And think of some more questions based on the table, and I said that. Think of some questions, great. If not an issue. And with that, we end this lesson. Thank you for your time. Please do like and subscribe, and I hope you're finding this information useful, and your comments would be much appreciated.